right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our September Planning Commission meeting. Before we get started, I'm going to lead you on the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Tyler is going to lead us in the invocation. So if you can stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all you've given us in this town and our country. I just pray that you would continue those blessings. Ask that you please guide us in our decisions tonight, that we will do the best we can for the city of Springdale. Just thank you for all that you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Again, thank you guys for joining us for our September 4th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. And if we could get started with roll call, please.
Harry Compton.
Here.
Roy Covert.
Here.
Vivi Haney.
Here.
Shannon Mueller.
Here.
Peyton Parker. Kevin Parsley.
Here.
Aaron Panado.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Dale Tyler.
Here. And any questions or comments of the last month's minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Ms. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Powell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. First section on here, public hearing, proposed amendment to the Springdale Code of Ordinance, Chapter 130 zoning ordinance to amend Article 12 ballpark area Southwest Springdale District Overlay, Section 1.3 to add property owned by Southwest Springdale 49 LLC to the overlay district, presented by Patsy Christie.
As you can see on the drawing on the wall, the property is adjacent to the south to the existing Southwest Overlay District, and the property owners have requested that we add that, and it would come under the same guidelines and restrictions that the rest of the Overlay District does. It's already been rezoned to C5. We have had, projects in there, and those projects are already trying to comply with and working. They were aware of it to start with. So the staff recommendation is that we amend the ordinance and add this to the overlay district. This is a public hearing, though, if there's anyone who has comments.
Any questions or comments? Okay, to the commission.
Make a motion this be approved for the city council.
Motion by Mr. Powell,
Second.
second by Mrs. Haney.
Compton.
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
Parsley.
Yes.
Panado.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Amendment passes 8-0. Next section is tabled items. We have C 18-19, Karina Chavez, 1108 Southwest N Street. Use Unit 44 mobile vending, and C2 presented by Karina Chavez. And while they're coming up, there is a couple of tabled items on here. You guys can go ahead and come on up here. Trinity Multifamily and Randall Wabi Road, C 18-20, that's been tabled per applicant. A rezoning, Mark Girth Properties LLC, that's 18-31, that's been tabled. BJM Developments on Powell Street and MF12 to MS16, that's been tabled. Powell Street Apartments, east side of Powell, Sisters and Fink, that's been tabled. And let's see, we have Betty Reed Revocable Trust, 8268 West Washington Wheel Roads, that's been tabled as well. So those will not be heard this evening. But back to C 18-19. You can come up to the mic and state your name and address, please.
Karina Chavez, 1108 Southwest N Street, Unit 44. It will be a mobile vending machine.
Can you pull that mic up just a little bit? There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karina Chavez, 1108 Southwest N Street.
So what you're proposing is to have a structure built that will be placed on this location to operate as like a food truck, only it's going to be, will the building actually be portable where it can be moved around?
It's gonna be portable, yeah, it's gonna be movable. Yeah, we're gonna be able to move it,
Okay.
yes.
Staff comments? Yeah.
The ingress and egress is acceptable. The off-street parking and loading areas was not shown on the plat, but if you'll look at the drawing, I think they have adequate area for it. There may be some additional that may have to be paved. The refuse and service area is acceptable, the utilities are acceptable. It's not known if the sign, I'm assuming any signage you would have would be on the structure itself?
Yes.
Okay. The yard requirements are acceptable, the size and shape of the site is acceptable. It is generally acceptable with the following conditions. Parking and loading areas need to be identified. May not operate between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. If a health certificate is required, display the health certificate in a manner visible to customers. No obstruction of pedestrian or motor vehicle traffic flow. No obstruction of traffic signals or regulatory signs. No vending upon a public way. No sound device that produces a loud and raucous noise in violation of city ordinance or violate any other city ordinances in connection with the vending operation. Sites to remain clean and free of paper or refuse of any kind generated from the operation of the business, with all trash or debris accumulating within 20 feet of any vending stand to be collected and deposited into trash containers.
Is that it? Anything else?
No.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Let's do the commission.
You know specifically where it's gonna be?
I think there was, it's actually in this grassy area. Aaron, can you kind of show them where it's going to be into this grassy area between the building on the north side of the property, right in there, with access from that paved area right in there is where you were, where it's.
'Cause there's like a-
That's where it's gonna be.
There's like a ditch going through there. Is there a lot of water that flows there at
No.
times, or?
No.
Well, they'll
It's on the side, on the other side.
Yeah.
We're gonna be putting on the, in the middle of the building. So, so it's not gonna block us on the, with the.
They're going to
gates
have
right
to
there.
bring us a site plan to show exactly where it's going to go and what area is going to be
Okay.
paved and how you get to it, because that's one of the
Because
things that
that
we
was a
did.
concern for me, was just if it was placed next to the building, the access with that ditch.
Yeah, they're not placing it right adjacent to the building itself.
And then, is this type of building, have we done this before?
I don't know of anyone that we've used this type of building before. Mike, do any of you guys over there know anything about these kind of structures?
Surely the Shave the Planets would be the closest thing to it that we have today. The Shave the Planets would be the closest thing to it we have today. There are going to be some issues they are going to have to overcome. The fire marshal and I have talked about this, and in fact, we're going to need to schedule a time between now and council, if y'all approve this, to kind of make sure we're on the same page as far as what's expected, but anything's doable.
Okay. So I guess that's something I think we just need to watch.
Yeah.
How something, since this may be the first one for like regular food, how that,
And I'm glad the fire marshal's involved on this, seeing it's gonna
Yeah.
be next to an adjacent building, so that was gonna be my question.
call for the vote?
Call for vote by Ms. Haney.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley, Panado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution, and it goes to council on the, I forgot to look up the date. We'll go to
28th.
council on the 28th, is that what it is? No, 25th. Okay, go to council on the 25th.
Council meeting.
You need to get with the fire marshal and the building inspector before that time, so we have all those details worked out. Okay?
Thank you. Next section, public hearing on conditional use, C 18-22, Teng Her, 107 Old Missouri Roads, Use Unit 44, Mobile Vending, presented by Teng. You can go ahead and come out to the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tang Her, and location that we've been looking for to operate will be 107 Old Missouri Road. My address is 1102 Apple Meadows, Bethel Heights, Arkansas.
Thank you.
You did submit copies of what the mobile unit's gonna look like?
Correct.
Okay, so that should be laying on the table so you can see what it looked like. Where on the site are you going to place it?
Well, this will be on the north side of the perimeter, right in between the electric paved wall where the electric water pump and electric air pump is at.
Okay. And you have 2 parking spaces that you can make available for this?
That will be 3 parking
3
spaces that will
parking
be
spaces,
available.
Okay. Okay. The ingress and egress is acceptable, the off-street parking is acceptable. You didn't show anything on your site plan of how you're gonna take care of the trash, but you'll put some trash receptacles,
Yes,
things like
that will be
around?
available.
Okay. Utilities are acceptable, screening is not applicable. You don't show any signage on the unit that you submitted. I'm assuming all your signage would be put on the mobile vending unit itself.
Correct. It will be up
Okay.
to date on, depending on how the progress go
Okay.
into that date of opening.
Yard requirements are acceptable, the size and shape of the site is acceptable. It is generally acceptable with the following conditions. May not operate between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. The health certificate is required. Display the health certificate in a manner visible to customers. No obstruction of pedestrian or motor vehicle traffic flow. No vending upon a public way. No sound device that produces a loud and raucous noise in violation of city ordinance or violate any other city ordinances in connection with the vending operation. Site to remain clean and free of paper or refuge of any kind generated from the operation of the business, with all trash or debris accumulating within 20 feet of any vending stand to be collected and deposited into a trash container.
Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Powell.
Chairman, I'm so sorry, this gentleman has.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, if you'll come up to the mic and state your name and address.
Good evening. This is our property that he's putting this on, and you're speaking of signage.
I'm sorry, can you state your name and address,
Oh,
please?
Stephen Fowler, 2646 Julio Road, Springdale.
Thank you.
We have an empty sign frame there at the front of the lot. Would he be allowed to use that for signage, or would that have to take a variance?
Mike's the sign guru. You could use it if there's an existing sign, and you could use the
Okay,
frame
we've
that's there.
got, it's empty right now, but the
Yeah.
frame is there.
You will need to get with the building inspector to get a frame for, to get a permit for the sign,
Okay,
okay?
you hear that? Okay.
Thank you. And we have a call for vote by Mr. Powell.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Conditional use passes 8-0.
Staff will prepare the resolution, and it goes to council on the 25th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next section, public hearing on rezoning, 18-32 Adams Family Properties LLC, 1605 Steel Avenue, from SF2 to MF2, presented by Charles Adams.
My name's Charles Adams, 3885 Julio Road. We're here to try to get 1605 rezoned from SF2 to MF2.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan is recommended for approval. Protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character throughout the city and encourage the development of a variety of housing types appropriate to the size and income of all households living and working in Springdale. The MF2 has the same 4 units per acre as the SF2, which is the rest of the area around it.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Powell.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Rezoning passes 8-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance and goes to council on the 25th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next section, preliminary plats, replats, and final plats. First item, final plat 18-02, Parkway Plaza, south of Don Tyson Parkway, east of South 56th Street, and west I-49, presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Apple with ESI. I'll answer any questions.
Okay, first, before we start, I need to check with engineering to see that this project is far enough along for us to consider the preliminary plat. So, somebody back there let me know, is the street improvements and the water and sewer in far enough along that we can move forward with the preliminary plat?
We paved Friday. All the water and sewer has been tested, is operational. It's not been accepted. It'll be accepted with the final plat, but it has been paid. All curb and gutters in, asphalt's down. Lacking minor revegetation items, a little bit of sidewalk.
Okay. So has the paving and stuff been tested and the curb and gutter all passed all the tests and everything, do you know?
We're cutting the cores this week. It got paid Friday, so we'll cut the cores this week.
Okay. I know there were some issues with some of the previous work, but that had to be taken out.
There's a little bit of curb that's gonna have to be, that has to come out. It's been cracked. We walked through that. I walked through that with Carl on Friday, so we're aware of those items.
Okay. Normally, we don't put these on the agenda unless we know they're 80% complete with water and sewer and street improvements, and so we need to make sure we get that in the future. The rest of the comments show the instrument numbers for off-site easements. They must be placed on the plans prior to final plat signing. Please submit a copy of the POA for common area. Once filed, please add the following instruments to the plat: the tandem lot split, the public road dedication for the north portion of Parkway Plaza, and the 2 access easements. They must be accomplished prior to final plat signing. Notes 6 and 10 need to be revised or removed. The 20-foot drainage easement, public utility easement must be deconflicted from each other. Please add a signature block for the engineering public works director for street and drainage acceptance. Please go to the parent tract information. Add an Arkansas notary statement. I will be the last one to sign. All comments from utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval, and the standard final plat checklist must be completed prior to final plat signing.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Haney, second by Mr. Powell.
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller.
Final plat passes 8-0.
If you want this to be on next Tuesday's agenda, it needs to be in our office by Thursday at noon. And we'll have to address some of these other issues before we'll move the testing and all that kind of stuff before we move it forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next section, preliminary plats, 18-07, Spring Creek Farms, Phase 1, West Miller Road, presented by CEI.
Good evening. My name is Nate Batchelor from CEI Engineering, representing the applicant and developer, David Dallas. I have presented here to you the Phase 1 of Spring Creek Farm subdivision. It consists of 122 buildable lots, a couple lots reserved for common area for stormwater drainage and for a sanitary sewer lift station for Springdale Water. This is Phase 1 of a 2 or 3 phase development plan consisting of 128 acres in total. First phase is approximately 48 acres, consisting of those 122 buildable lots. Generally speaking, the project proposes 46-foot street right-of-ways with 20-foot easements on either side of the streets to provide access for utilities. 8,000 square foot minimum lot size with approximately 75 foot frontage on those lots. There is several lots along the perimeter, especially the south and the west side where Miller Road intersects the project. There's a reservation of a 100-foot easement for a future extension from Beaver Water District. Again, this is the first phase of a 2 or 3 phase development. As the project progresses to the east, lots will gradually get larger. There's substantially more topography on the east side of the development, but this is the core, the foundation of the project to set up the infrastructure, the needs for the sanitary sewer lift station, the stormwater detention requirements, and obviously the access there to Miller Road.
Staff comments?
None of the lots that back up to Miller Road will have access to.
That's correct. All of those will be accessed by the internal streets.
All comments from the utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval of construction plans. Engineering comments include show the seed and mulch requirement on diversion dike detail. Streets such as Teton and Cowboy have slopes that may impede flows from entering the inlets as shown with a typical street curb and gutter design, creating drainage issues. Specifically for Teton, there is potential for sheet flow drainage to go out into the joining city street, which does not follow city ordinance. We are willing to consider potential solutions you may have. We ask that you provide evidence that this will not be an issue. Show locations throughout the project area which will be used as stockpile locations. These stockpiles must be included in the SWIP design. Ensure that they are labeled temporary, and note that the maximum framework a stockpile may remain on a site is 6 months. Many of the lots are showing sheet flow from lot to lot. Each lot should be graded to drain to the street right of way as dedicated drainage easements with improvement or an existing drainage way. At intersections with slope, label the slope with percentages. The Phase 1 development does not appear to have a designated FEMA Zone A as reflected on the cover sheet. Either show where the Zone A is located or change the note to reflect the Phase 1. And there will be some, trees are not specifically marked on a plan set for preservation, are higher risk of being removed. Trees provide value to properties, and the preservation of trees recommended as a method beautification, stormwater management, erosion control. Staff recommends that a tree preservation plan for this subdivision be included during the next round of comments with details showing how trees marked for preservation will be protected during construction. These are all engineering comments, and the project will be submitted to constructability review still.
We look forward to receipt of any comments from constructability review and have begun working on the others as well.
Okay, and normally we have constructability reviews, but they were not included in the engineering comments this time.
Anything else? Any questions or comments from the audience? I did have one from Mr. Banyan Patterson that he was not able to be here tonight and asked that I read this. And this will be provided to CEI. I sent it to Patsy so that she can get that to you all. But it says, thank you for your time and attention in the matter of the Spring Creek Farms preliminary plats and other stages and phases. This development is placed among established community of a certain character and is at a major city entrance. Therefore, in consideration of the issue, it is important that the community be informed of some key factors. 1, the accommodations of the infrastructure for this project, especially traffic, sewer, and safe, suitable access to Shaw Elementary and a new park complex plan adjacent to such. 2, identify not only the developer, but also any builders that will be involved. 3, the plans for the facades and sizes of the structures. 4, the intentions for buffers and barriers to adjacent properties and access control outside the developed area. 5, the plans for addressing Springdale's recent movements towards walkability and bikeability in and around all phases of Spring Creek Farms. 6, the plans for how smart growth features and concepts will be part of the developments. 7, the plans for preservation of trees and green space, especially in subsequent phases in Spring Creek Farms. 8, the preservation of current forests on the property for protection of the Spring Creek and Illinois River watershed. 9, preservation of the vast treed green space for the long-term aesthetic and health appeal of the location in the city as a whole. And finally, 10, please use grave discretion in consideration of variances and exceptions to standards as the project progresses if approved. Respectfully, please see that Spring Creek will be a project that is not only in keeping with the character of the community, but it also is a development that epitomizes the type of display all would want our city's entrance and continues Springdale's progress as a place with a high standard of living and an example of the benefit of smart growth principles.
And we'll get you a
Again.
copy of that next,
Thank
so
you.
you have those too.
I didn't hear anything on that list that was unreasonable, so.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I mean, if we could respond back to that, I think
Certainly.
that would be
Be happy to.
fantastic, so.
Yeah, we'll send it, we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it to you as well on it, so. I think there was also a question of if there was any type of drawings or anything as far as the types of houses that will be built in this at all, or?
I don't think we have architectural plans prepared yet, but the developer did share with me his intent for this first phase in construction. Home size would range from 2,000 square feet to 2,300, slightly larger than the development just to the south in and around Shaw. And as I mentioned earlier, as we move into phases 2 and 3, they would be larger lots and likely larger structures as well.
Okay, great.
Keep in mind, we do not have any standards right now that addresses any of that. Okay?
All right, it's to the commission.
Now, this is a PUD, is
No.
that correct? This
No.
is not a PUD.
No, it's not a PUD. It's
So,
already zoned SF2.
SF2.
Right.
So what's our minimum frontage for each lot?
70 foot of frontage, 8,000 square feet. All of the lots meet that minimum.
Hmm?
All of the lots meet the minimum.
70-foot frontage.
8,000 square feet. They have a lot of lots that are 80 foot, 75 and 80 foot. Majority of their lots are that size.
So this one that says 68 foot,
It got checked. It got
okay.
repaired. We already
great.
caught that one. That
Yep.
was
So these-
flagged. Yeah,
okay.
that was flagged at the very beginning. It got fixed.
Okay.
Yes.
Chairman, I don't know if it would be of interest to the developer, but this would be a perfect project for the developer to join the city in the conversation we had recently about the future home, what future homes in Springdale look like. So it may be of some advantage to have the developer come and visit with us.
We've visited several times. We can continue visiting about what's going on out there, yeah.
Yeah, I know that'll be probably a topic at our, obviously will be the topic at our next work session.
One of our
on it, so-
topics at the next work session, we'll get to that in a minute, yeah.
So there's an open invitation for the for the builder to come.
Okay, understood.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Motion by Ms. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert.
Panado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley.
Yes. Preliminary plat passes 8-0.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next section is large-scale developments. L 18-24, The Peaks at Springdale, west side of North Thompson, north side of Cooper Drive, presented by Craft and Toll.
Hello, my name is Daniel Ellis with Craft and Toll and Associates, and we're bringing before the commission tonight a proposal for a 48-unit multifamily project to be located on 5.71 acres off of Cooper Drive, just west of Thompson. Only thing I think I really want to highlight is that with this plan, we are showing to have 65% green space as part of this project, so well over half the site's going to remain as green space. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We'll also say I have reviewed staff comments on this, and we don't have any issues with staff comments.
Okay.
And we've been back and forth. We've worked a lot on this project. I think we've really got a good quality project from where we started to where we are now. We're
Yes,
moving right
ma'am.
along. You need to submit PDF files, so we have those. All comments from utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval of construction plans. We have some parking space issues that we need to address, standard sizes. Provide architectural screening for the exposed HVAC units. We need a unified lighting plan. Provide foundation landscaping for the trash enclosures. Engineering comments, access easement to allow equipment entry to conduct drainage maintenance will be necessary. Detention pond outlet devices cannot extend beyond the property line. No alteration may be made on neighboring properties, even if the alteration is in a drainage or utility easement without written approval from the neighboring property owners. Label the playgrounds with an ADA compliant playground. And then you have some constructability comments about the outlet pipe size, the size of the riprap pads, the sod that's being installed, and you've seen all those comments too.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Motion by Ms. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado.
Yes.
Large scale passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next large scale, 18-30 Pro Tire and Automotive, 755 North 40th Street, presented by Blue and Associates.
George DeCane with Blue and Associates. We're doing a tire and automotive store. This is on 40th Street. There's existing building there, but they're going to tear it down, put this in its place. They'll be performing tire services primarily, but they also have automotive services at this center. We have the site plan. You should have some elevations to go with it, some color renderings of what the building's going to look like. There you go.
Staff comments?
Residential, commercial, and industrial areas, you have to have underground utilities, excluding the 12 KVs and above. We did get updated front, side, and rear elevations, and we need a unified lighting plan for the site. The roof lines shall be varied with a change in height, and I think we took care of that with the new drawings and all that being taken care of. Provide fencing details and elevations. There's fencing along the north side of this property.
There's a couple of residential houses nearby.
Right.
So we're going to be providing the fencing along those areas.
Okay. We need details of what that
Sure.
screening is going to look like. Note that sheets 3, 3.1, and these are engineering comments. Note that sheets 3, 3.1, and 3.2 were not submitted, which may include the information on the erosion control sheets. I don't know if you submitted those since then or not. Label pipe characteristics for the outlet of the detention area on the plans. Some comments are contingent on the drainage report being submitted. Did you submit a drainage report?
Yeah.
Okay. Show how the roof drains will be tied to the detention pond. Clearly show the proposed and existing sidewalks. Let's see, I think there's one more. This project has been submitted to Curtis for constructability review, but we don't have the comments for that. We'll get those to you as soon as we can get them.
Okay.
All right. Any questions or comments from the audience?
It's another one of those that we worked pretty hard at being able to change some of those things around. Carl, you have some comments?
Yes, the engineering department is requesting to table this project.
You're requesting this project to be tabled?
Yes.
Okay.
And that comment is the plan set submitted to the engineering department for review was an incomplete plan set due to the sheets 3, 3.1, 3.2 not being included. So we don't really have a chance to review the project.
Okay.
So at this time, it hasn't been resolved, but the engineering department's goal is to review all sheets within the plan set to prepare for approval by the plan commission as 4 out of 12 sheets, specifically all sheets pertaining to the erosion control and storm sewer profiles for this plan have not yet to be reviewed. The engineering department and the director of engineering request that this project is tabled till a complete review may be completed.
I guess that's it.
I figured we could do the erosion control when it came time for engineering review, but I guess things have changed in the city now. So,
You'll have to deal with the engineering department. I can't answer on their behalf. We have their statement, and so.
sure.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. This will be tabled until the next meeting. All right, next section, Board of Adjustments, B 18-34, Bob L. Bonds, 8332 East Wagon Wheel Road. Reduction of front setback from 50 feet to 30 feet, presented by Bob Bond.
Good evening. I am Bob Bonds, 2625 Centerwood Road, Fayetteville. Back in the spring, we rezoned this property from A1 to RE, and I did not catch or realize at the time the setback changed from 30 feet to 50 feet. And due to the irregular shape of this lot, it's pie-shaped down by Wagon Wheel Road, and the contour of the property down by the road, it's fairly level, and then it gets in a wooded area that goes up on the hill. And I've tried very hard and many times to lay out my building plans for a garage, shop, and a park model home. And the park model home was the reason that we rezoned it. Some of you may remember that. But, so this request is to change that setback from 50 to 30 feet, which would be exactly like a number of houses across the street.
Staff comments?
I don't think we have a problem with it.
I'm sorry?
We don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Powell.
Tyler?
Yes.
No, what, yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Tyler. Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Mueller?
Yes.
Parsley?
Yes.
Panado?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Adjustment passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, 18-35, Anderson Engineering for O'Reilly Automotive, Lot 6, Glass Commercial District. Reduction of distance between drive from 150 to 85 feet presented by Anderson Engineering.
Hi, my name is Bobby Laird with Anderson Engineering. I'm here requesting variance for the access spacing for this property. It's a commercial development for an O'Reilly Auto Parts on Lot 6 of the Glass Commercial District. The reasoning for the second access for this property is for delivery truck access. Having the one access to the west causes a problem for delivery trucks reaching the delivery doors.
Staff comments?
You can't make this work with one driveway in there.
Not for delivery, no.
How often do you have deliveries?
Every night.
And what size trucks come in there?
It's a semi that delivers, but it's a I don't have the classification of the semi.
Wayne, does this create any issues for the fire department for them to have two access points?
Most of their.
You know that.
I know, Most of their access for around their building can be gained from the front of the building to get within 150 feet. Providing a secondary access to this is not really going to affect us much.
Okay, I mean, it's not to meet fire code, it's for their trucks getting in and out. Does that create a problem for the fire station that's down there?
No, I just have to have the one access to it, that's it. Just so I can park my truck to get within 150 feet of all exterior parts.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about
Yeah.
them meeting the fire code. I'm worried about their trucks having in and out in two places as it affects the fire station itself.
Oh, I see what you're asking now.
Yeah.
Show me how they're going to be coming in.
We can provide documentation on how the truck would navigate to the site.
If you can speak
Okay.
into the mic on that, so.
He wants you to.
Yeah. We can provide documentation of how the trucks would navigate throughout the site.
I don't think it'll affect anything, but I'll look at it.
I mean, you can provide the navigation, or they're going to follow it. I think that's the challenge.
That's the
on that, so.
challenge, yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
So if for some reason we approve this tonight and it does not pass, when he looks at the navigation of the trucks, does it come back to us? Does it just get denied, or?
Well, if you deny the giving them the variance of 100, from 150 feet to 85 distance between the drives, they either have to do one drive or come back and ask for something different. So right now, the requirement is 150 feet between drives.
Right.
You're asking that to be reduced to 85 feet as opposed to 150. That's a pretty significant variance.
So what's the whole distance on the frontage?
Looks like 171 feet, almost 172.
So are you wanting that in the center of the lot? Is that what you're asking?
I think we're looking for.
Actually, I'm sorry. If you're looking along Glass Drive, the property frontage would be 109 roughly feet.
I think we're getting to a drawing. This is a non-large scale because it's an approved commercial subdivision, so they have to come before it so you can see what it looks like here in just a second. Can you make that a little bit larger? See, the driveways are really close together.
I have some plans that I can hand out that show the driveway spacing.
Okay. But basically, they look like that.
Yes.
So it's just gonna be off of the city street, not the highway?
Technically not it's a private drive, is it not? It's not.
Yes, but it's maintained by the city.
Yeah, it's a private drive to the fire station, but it's maintained by the city, and he's asking to put 2 driveways on there.
And what necessitates this is because the semi cannot come in the front entrance, the original ingress point today, is that correct, and make a left?
And where does the truck come in and sit? Does it back into a dock, or how does it operate?
Yeah, it would pull into that. I believe it would pull into the eastern drive, and then navigate through, and it'd pull out the western drive. See, once the truck enters the site, it's hard for the truck to get back out that access without backing out. That causes a problem.
At the back of your site, do you have a turn radius where the truck can turn around?
Yeah, I can provide that as well.
So then I'm struggling to understand how it can come in one way and turn around and not come out the same way.
How it cannot?
That's what you're telling me is I can go in this right-hand drive, but I can't come back out. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Yeah, it would be, they'd have to back out. I mean, there's no way for the vehicle to turn around.
You just told me they could turn around at the back of the building.
They cannot turn around within the site.
Okay.
They would come in one access and exit the other.
Tends to make you think that the building's too big for the site, but
So there's no access off of the highway, only off
I think the
Glass?
subdivision itself indicates that lot can't have access to.
In our normal course of putting a building on this property anywhere in the city, would we allow 2 ingress points this close together? In the normal course of their site planning?
No. I can't tell you off the top of my head if we have another one or not, but I can't think of one that it's this close together.
So the trucks are they pulling up to the building, or are they just pulling up beside the building?
They're just pulling up beside the building. They don't back
Yes.
into the building anyway.
No.
Basically, they're going to pull in
The west.
the west one, park in front of those parking spaces, complete their delivery, and come out the one on the east and drive out. That's what you're proposing for them to do. Or the other way around, whichever way you want to go.
Right. Yes.
I think we're asking for an opportunity putting 2 ingress points that close together.
You think what? I'm sorry?
I don't know that it's going to be safe to have 2 ingress points that close together in the front of a building.
That's the question, yes.
One thing that's nice for the O'Reilly deliveries is that they do their deliveries at night. So there's typically no traffic within that time
Yeah,
frame.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean the truck. I'm talking about the customers that come in during the day.
Yeah.
To come in and out of both those ingress egress points at the same time. What's the distance? What is that island distance in between those two? The size of the island?
61 feet's what
So-
that says, yeah.
So when you say the delivery's at night, after you're closed?
Yes.
So after you're closed, there wouldn't be a reason that somebody couldn't spot and back the truck? There's not gonna be any,
Right. The only thing is that the vehicle or the trucks cannot turn within the site. So there's no way to get a vehicle or a truck to come in one access and then come out that same access without backing out of it.
Well, if they're coming in at night, can they not come in the west one, pull in there, and then back up in front of the building and come back out?
exactly. If there's nobody there, then I think that would be a safer alternative and
Just so you don't get into opening a can of worms here, the left one that has the kind of bubble around it has a bubble around it because they added that, because we wouldn't allow it as staff in the first place because of the proximity to the arterial. We have a pretty strict requirement for a curb cut to an arterial because we don't want people stacking up and backing up right there. So in essence, if you shorten the drive distance together, that's a one-part variance. It still would be a staff comment that would probably come in and say that front one is going to be too close to the arterial anyways. That's just from the staff reviewing the plan. I don't disagree that there's some access issues, some creative engineering that would have to go on there, but if the deliveries are at night, I mean, there's not going to be any other traffic on there except for the gas station, and the reason the curb cut to the right is so far back is so you can deconflict that with that. So, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we don't want to get into another situation where you approve one that violates another comment. So, I mean, if you do the variance, it's for the drives being closer together. That takes care of one aspect of the site plan. But to approve another drive that close to the arterial would be a whole different matter.
Which we're not addressing tonight because that
Right.
wasn't asked for.
That's two different independent standards.
Right.
So,
So the one that will be there is the one on the east portion?
yes. And that was staff's intentions when we were trying to communicate that back from the standards we have. We're not going to even consider the one to the west. You can get a distance closer together, but I mean, you're still going to be fighting that other comment regardless, just of the proximity to the arterial. I mean, I think it's pretty stiff standard. It's over 100 and something feet, and I think it's showing right now at 100.
What if the actual, one of those was wider?
I think that would be a more agreeable way to go out instead of getting into other standards and kind of domino affecting this site plan. I don't, with the constraints of the site, it hasn't been developed for a long time. To be honest with you, the O'Reilly's building looks great. They worked really hard to get it redesigned to meet a lot of our commercial design standards. So they have come forward on that aspect of the building. So as long as the curb cut is back far enough, that's more so what I'm concerned from a planning, transportation aspect.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because if it was wider, they could actually pull past it.
right.
Back in.
And I think the maximum width we allow to go on a drive is 40. Carl, you back me up on that? Like 40?
40.
Yeah. 40-foot width, so I don't know, maybe a modified curb in there for rollover, maybe some creative engineering is what we should be talking about.
The 120 feet from the intersection.
Right, and I think they're showing it currently at 100 from, and that might be off. I think it's a little bit closer actually from where we would measure it from the tangent of the curve. But I think it would be more agreeable to have to go a wider drive with a modified rollover curb from a turning ratio aspect to me for a truck to get in and out of there. It's nighttime. Why can't you not back up in there? So that's kind of what we are looking at it from a staff perspective review. So, but they have been very agreeable trying to change it in there. It's just some site constraints.
It's typically 40-foot trailers that they're bringing in? Or?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe.
Okay. I mean, is that something that you all would consider? Instead of having the two accesses, that we look at doing just one wider one?
So
with curb rollovers?
the one issue we might have with that is we still have to have the spacing away from US 71, and pushing that drive farther to the east requires customers to come in through the site and come within the building frontage and then turn back to the left to get to the front door. And that wouldn't be
But the comment that we made earlier is that it hasn't even been addressed. I mean, if you put that west one in, you're still gonna have to come back before us again.
Because you didn't ask for a variance for it to be less than 120 feet.
Because you got two different issues that are having to be addressed here, but they're not both on this.
Yeah,
I'm just giving that
I'd
recommendation
feel
on
more
that.
comfortable with it being tabled and getting a little closer to what.
And not, just so we're not seem like we're isolating them, this is a normal standard we apply pretty daily in any close proximity to our arterials. If you go to Sunset, any of our new developments, the developments run from like an arterial to a major collector kind of to a smaller road. It's just a squared 90 kind of approach to get the traffic internal. So this would be not unlike any of the kind of shielded tacos for life, like Freddy's Frozen Custard over on Sunset, kind of in our newer kind of areas where we've kind of gone off of that have that same kind of traffic incident, accident potential, which is what this curb cut kind of thing is protecting. So it's really just traffic management.
I don't see anybody here that thinks it's about an O'Reilly's Auto Parts issue. I think this isn't about the client. The client's a fine client. They do a great job. This is about the safety of the people coming in and out of this site after we're gone. And that's what I'm concerned about. I don't care what name you put on the box.
Oh, yeah, and the southern property on that that's King's gas station, and so, I mean, in the middle of the day, I mean, you're gonna have quite a few cars that are gonna back up on that whole piece, and that's the concern that, the other issue that's being brought up on here, so.
So based on these comments, do you want the planning commission to take action on your current request to reduce the distance between the drives from 150 to 85, or do you want to table this and come back with another approach?
We would like to move forward with this layout. We've worked with O'Reilly with the layout. They like the current
Okay.
two access.
Okay, so he's asking for this variance itself to be voted on.
Okay. Call for the vote?
Yeah,
Call for-
yeah, have to
Call
have a
for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mrs. Haney?
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
No.
Haney,
No?
Mueller,
No.
Parsley,
No.
Benado,
No.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Let's see, this does not pass 5-3. So, I mean,
You may want to get with staff and let's see what else we can work out.
Okay. Thank you.
next adjustment be 18-36, Cox Development LLC, 2223 Presley Lane, increase of grade of the driveway presented by Karen Parker.
As you can tell, I'm not Karen Parker. My name's Kent Cox. I'm the owner of Cox Development.
Can you explain to us what we have here?
It is a sloping driveway. The house is completed. We were aware of it, and so was the city at the beginning of construction. We pushed the building back a little bit further on the property to try to help the slope, but we've done everything that we can do as far as we feel like we could do to help the slope of the driveway. The houses that are around that, there's 2 or 3 being built there, and they also have slope problems.
So what is the slope that's out there now? Do you know what it is?
I would say approximately 30, 35.
30, 35, okay. Aaron, do you have a picture? Is that the house we're
That's
talking
it,
about?
yes.
Mike, do you have any comments?
The slope looks a lot worse when you're there in front of it.
I'm sorry?
I think the slope looks a lot worse when you're standing in front of
Yes.
it than this picture.
Yeah.
And I can comment or wait till it's our turn, but I think it's dangerous to do that. I think we've denied one for less of a slope than that in the past. And-
Why would
and-
you let me build this house through your building side, get to this point, even when I took the initiative to push the building back?
Mike, you want to comment on that?
Just to quantify the statement Mr. Cox made, of course, he's an experienced builder, he's built all over Northwest Arkansas. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes. And of course, he was told at the beginning what the setbacks was, the sidewalks required, what the driveway slope could be. And so here we are today.
What is our maximum allowed slope?
Well, in that subdivision, it'd be 20% because it was an existing subdivision. And there are several houses out there that probably do meet or exceed what he's got faced with, but they were prior to the ordinance being passed by city council. They required 15% for all new subdivisions.
So it is currently set at 20% because it was existing when that
Prior
went
to
into
that.
effect.
You bet.
And you said it's at 30.
Oh, so,
I don't know for sure what it is.
So we don't know exactly what kind of variance we're given because we don't know
It's,
what the slope is.
You know, when I've read on driveway slopes, even the maximum slope is to go up a drive, so you should have a leveling off at the beginning of the drive and at the top of the drive. So the fact that you come straight up and then are gonna try to, it's just a safety thing. It's a safety thing. I'm not sure what they did in the other subdivision where it was
Well,
denied.
I
but-
have the same, the fellow that's building right beside me is even a worser case than I am. And I just don't understand how I could get this far with communicating through the city that, I mean, I go and I get my permits. I even called Tom and said, hey, here's the issues. And they said, yes, go ahead and pour. We see you're forming, but you'll need to go and get a variance at the end. And this is procedure. So I'm not really for sure how I can be in this point that now it's questioned possibly that I need to tear this driveway out.
So a variance is a request, it's not a guarantee.
Then why would they approve to pour?
Just again, to quantify, we don't approve driveways. We do sidewalks and approaches.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit confused on, I tried to make it very evident what I had out there with the people that I thought I was supposed to be connecting to. as
How
far
far
as-
back did you push the house?
Probably another 7 feet, maybe. I don't know exactly, but I know that we completely laid it out, and I said, hey, that driveway's gonna be steep. I need to push this as far as I can.
You
And
pushed-
at that particular time, that was when I called the city and talked to Tom and said, hey, you know, here's what I'm up against.
And you pushed that house back
I did.
to
My backyard is very
lessen
small now.
lessen the steepness of the grade?
Yeah, it's very small because of that, but I felt like I would be better off with a smaller backyard than a steeper driveway.
I mean, it's written in the ordinance as a builder, looking at what the rules are. I mean, you know, I feel bad that
Well,
the incident happens, but
I just don't know where I go to from here, to be honest with you. I've got a house that's completely done, and I tried to make sure I was going through every step I could go through, that I wouldn't have any issues. And they said, hey, before you get the final, just make sure you get your variance under control. They didn't say, hey, you better go get your variance because there might be a problem. And maybe I should read into it. I did not read into it. You know, I went with what,
I mean, if you look at just standards in the country, that amount is,
I build all over Northwest Arkansas, and I'll be honest with you, and I'm not trying to argue with you at all. I really am not. But if I built that anywhere else, I'd say most anywhere, I've not ever ran up against this, that it wouldn't be questioned. I know it's steep, but personally, you know, I try to get my driveways because I try to take the steps completely out of a house. I don't try to drop my garage floors or anything like that because I know I have a problem with possibly the cell at the end of the house. But, I mean, here I am. I don't know what else to do other than here I am, and this is what I have to deal with.
So you've used the term "they." You've been talking with them, they. Who is them and they with the city?
Tom is who I always call it at as far as when I have a building question, because he has always been the fella that seems to answer them.
did you let him know how far out of compliance you were?
Yes, I asked him to come look at it.
But that was after the house was built.
No, it was from the beginning.
Okay, because the property could have been graded down a bit as well. That was an option. I think the challenge that we're up against on here is that this isn't the first time that we've seen these opportunities, and that the burden really shifts to us as far as making a decision when you have a visual picture of a house fully being developed on here. We've denied these before. And it ultimately what it ends up doing is it ends up, I believe, Patsy, as far as into circuit court in these situations on here. Don't want to get into that type of circumstance, but it's really challenging for us when these are regulations that are published. And I'm going to go research, but I would venture to guess most cities in Northwest Arkansas probably have pretty similar to what they have here in Springdale. So I don't know that I agree with the comment that this wouldn't be challenged in other areas. You know, if it's an oversight on them, I can't speak on behalf of other cities on it. But
Sure.
I mean, anytime you have something that says it's a variance, you know that's going to be voted on in that whole piece. And I think that's something that I would want to go and find out more details associated with that. But this is where we're at in that whole
Yeah.
piece. And
Believe me, it won't happen again on my side.
Well,
I just assumed.
yeah.
And like I said, maybe my
But-
fault, but I thought I was going through the right connections to either stop my project completely.
It's just
And
a
they didn't
driveway
stop
that
me.
steep. I mean, the reason they have the lower amount is because parking a car on there is dangerous. And driving one in when you're literally going up and then, you know, someone's gonna drive through the house. I mean, it's not safe, just not a safe situation. And, I mean.
I thought I did
for-
everything I
for
could to do the
previous-
right
For
thing.
previous ones that we've had come forth, I did some extensive research and found that even when they allowed that slope, the recommendation was that the bottom where you enter, and then you go up the drive, and then it levels off before you enter into the home. So that means either you have a bigger lot and come around and in and wind your way in, or you lower the lot to where.
I understand. I did make the garage bigger because I knew that I tried to lower the garage as much as I could, which created steps inside the garage. I tried to make the garage as deep as I could to try to help with some of those situations that you're talking about, but the bottom line is
Okay.
I don't know. I've made a mistake, I guess, but I really thought when I called the city and talked to the people that I answer to, and they said, hey, move forward, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Okay. Any questions or any comments from the audience? Do y'all have any other comments or questions here?
Who is Tom?
How do we not get to this?
Well, that's kind of what I was asking. Who is Tom, and is he here to make any statements on his behalf of what conversations he had?
Mike's gonna have to address this.
Let me make sure I've got the name right, because believe me, I work with so many cities, I may not be in the right.
We have a Tom.
You
Our
do?
chief building
Okay.
inspector is Tom Evers. Tom answers lots of questions, but to answer your question,
Yeah.
we'd have to institute some kind of residential plan review that fully entailed raising our permit fees and doing a full-blown plan review, similar to what we do for the commercial applications now, including the site plans. We do everything we can, as we've been here many times before, telling
Right.
you, we express what's required. You must be X feet away from the sides, the front. You have to put a sidewalk in. I realize you're in the county setting, but you're still in the city of Springdale. You have to have a driveway slope that does not exceed whatever the number is. We don't try to stop a project unless we have to because of some imminent safety concern. And it is true. I don't doubt for a second, no one said to Mr. Cox at footing stage, make sure you get variance before you go to the framing stage. But by the same token, as a permit holder, whether you be a licensed contractor who's done many nice jobs all around Northwest Arkansas, or an individual homeowner, it's incumbent on you to make sure you take care of that as it comes up.
I agree with you 100%, and I do believe it's on him at the end as the builder. But in your estimation, it is normal process that what was his name, Tom, would have made the comment back to him, hey, I know where you are, just make sure you get your variance.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
The same thing we'd say, you've got a sidewalk coming up later, make sure you go apply for that sidewalk waiver.
Got it.
It's very standard.
Okay.
Is it ever brought up about driveways like this? Do you know of?
It again is noted on all permits, don't exceed whatever the slope can be for a platted subdivision. Every driveway gets that note.
Okay.
We don't inspect driveways. As I said earlier, we inspect the approach and the sidewalk. But the permit holder is told in writing up front what's allowed and what's required.
So it was in the permit that
It
this
is written
drive
on the
could not
permit.
exceed a certain,
Correct.
certain percent
Yes, sir.
slope.
In this case, it would have been 20% because of the age of the subdivision.
Okay.
But why would they let me go any further?
Why would we want to stop you when you're trying to get a project completed and get it
Well, I'd
turned around
rather
90
you
or
stop me
120
than
days?
me be right here.
I
mean,
appreciate
good
that,
grief.
Mr. Cox.
I got $80,000 tied up in that house to have this kind of problem, to be honest with you.
But did I understand him correctly just a moment ago to say that you received a permit at the very beginning before you ever put the sidewalk, or before you put the driveway in that
I
said
did.
20% was the
I
max?
did. And I called Tom at that point and said, what do I need to do?
Right.
And I said, you need to come look at this property. They didn't say, hey, you could have a problem, you need to go in front. He said, proceed on. Just make sure you get a variance by the time you get your final. I mean, that's a big difference in stances.
Yeah.
Proceed on or stop and go get your variance because you could have a problem.
Yeah. But I think the point was made that it's not a guarantee that a variance will be granted. It's strictly something that you need to come and bring before the panel.
But you could have stopped at that point before you framed anything.
Yeah.
And come and got your variance on the front end to know what it was at that point. He didn't tell you had to wait till the end to get a variance. He said
No,
you,
but he didn't say there was gonna be any problems or, I mean, I used his profession. He is the man at the,
So,
anyway.
I agree
So-
with that, except that he gave you, you got a permit that stated 20% was the grade. At that point, that was what the grade was, whether Tom said something different or not. That is what was on the permit, correct?
So-
I assume, they
Well, you just
tell
told
me
me
it
it-
is, so I assume it
Okay.
is, to be honest with
Do
you.
you think potential buyers will have a problem with the grade of that
Yes.
driveway?
I'll drop the price considerably because someone, I mean, to sell the house, it's not a desirable, I mean, I'm being totally honest with you. I knew that going into it, it wasn't a desirable lot. But I bought it because there is people out there that want this nice of a house, but they can't afford it. And they will go, hey, the driveway's not a big deal to me. I'll buy the house.
so your request, I think, said driveway is over 17%. And then you said you think it's about 30%.
I don't know.
But it could be 45%.
I don't know what it is. I didn't
So-
realize I needed to shoot it.
So you're asking for a variance. We need to know, first off, exactly how much of a variance we're being asked for. Because if it's 2%, which I think in all probability it may be more than 30%, but we're being asked to give a variance, it could be 90%. You know, we have,
Okay, we're talking about the same thing over and over again on it, and,
So can we get somebody from the city to go out there and actually do a shot on that and tell us what it is?
we have somebody who can do that? Or should he just get somebody to shoot it and bring it to us and say this is what it is?
Either way.
I think for Mr. Cox's benefit, it'd probably best if we both took a measurement to make sure we're in agreement on that.
Then I would like to grant a proposal to table this until we have all the numbers that we need to look at.
I would second that.
so we're looking at tabling this because what is submitted in here is not, I don't think we have good exact measurements as far as that we're dealing with, as far as the grades, and so need to go back out and look at it again, in that whole piece. So we're looking at tabling this for this evening and then coming back in October as far as to hear this.
Okay.
Okay?
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, the other
I
option
hate
is
that
to
I'm to this
go ahead and
point.
go to a vote, and if it gets turned down, you gotta go back and do something anyway. This gives you a chance to at least come back with them with some more information.
Whatever you'd like me to do, that's
We have a
fine.
motion.
Well,
Just a
it's
second.
totally up to you. I mean, we have the option, we can table it, or you have the option to either say, yes, we'll table it and get some more information, or you can say, I want to just do it as it is, and we can vote on it. And then what happens if it's denied?
If it's denied, your only recourse is to appeal through the circuit court. You can't appeal it to the city council. And right now, you can't get a C of O on it until you get this resolved one way or the other.
So, I mean, we can vote on it again. We can do that tonight, so.
I didn't understand what you said. Did you say I couldn't get a vote on it?
You can. You can ask for them to go ahead and vote on the request as it is written right now.
If it is denied tonight, it cannot be appealed to city council.
Right.
I'll just wait. I'll give you whatever you ask for.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll table this until October meeting.
Okay, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Next item, B 18-38, Elliott Bailey, 566 Caroline Clare. Increase height of fence from 6 feet to 8 feet, presented by David Bailey.
I'm in for David Bailey. I'm Elliot Bailey at 566 Caroline Clare Street, and I just wanted to do an increase on the fence from 6 foot to 8 foot for security and privacy purposes.
Across the back and the sides, or just the back?
Just the back for now. I mean, if it would be better, I would do the sides too, but I just want to go across the back for now.
Any staff comments?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Anybody over there got any comments? Danny? Any comments on this one? No?
Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
So is that where the road is?
That's
gonna
where the
be
road's
going?
going to go through.
And, you know, and I guess that's, you know, because I look at Tyson Boulevard, and when there's a different fence every house, it's not the best look.
Yeah, the fences now are pretty bad shape, and I'm, gonna pay to replace that with a good-looking 8-foot fence. I do play basketball, and I coach basketball, so I have a goal back there and a little spot to do some training. That'll kind of keep the possibility from the ball going up and over the fence too with the 8-foot. And I didn't know if it's everybody else's, but I've heard a lot of other neighbors on both sides of me say, let me know what you find out, and if that's available to go with 8 foot through there. I know a lot of people would do that for the privacy. It is kind of on the lower side to where people driving by would be able to see in the backyard and see, through windows and stuff as well.
So we vote on this tonight, and if we approve it, does that mean we're going to have 12 more that come out this way?
We could.
And do we have to vote on each one of them separate, or?
Let's say all come together and apply together.
Have we had other subdivisions where, I mean, the fence is that high? Because I was looking, seems like Enclave, is their fence higher than that?
The ones on Tyson Heights, the new subdivision, they're 6-foot fences, right? Yeah, I mean, those are the newest ones that we put in along Don Tyson Parkway. All of those are 6-foot fences.
Enclave is 6 foot.
Enclave is 6 foot too.
Yeah, I can't off the top of my head think of any place that has an 8-foot fence that backs up to a.
It's only where we have an incompatible use.
Can't hear you. You're
Only
being
where
trouble,
he
Aaron.
has an
Aaron said it's only where we have
incompatible use.
incompatible use.
Yeah, yeah. And, this subdivision was platted knowing that the right-of-way was behind it. This is not new.
So that's the 56th Street.
This is the 56th Street extension, yes.
So that fence, when 56th Street comes, I mean, is that in any of the right-of-way at all?
No, I don't believe so. You still have engineering people here? We're not taking any fences with the 56th Street improvement, are we?
Yep.
You have to come to the microphone.
The properties along this line of the project will actually just be temporary construction easements.
Okay.
But we do have written notice from a decent amount of the properties along this line that they will request an 8-foot fence due to screening.
They're asking for an 8-foot fence to be put back as part of the temporary
Correct.
construction easement?
Correct. When we remove the fences associated with the temporary construction easement.
Okay, so is the city going to ask on behalf of all these property owners to increase that height of those fences to 8 feet down through there?
No. The fences that are 8 foot will be paid for by the property owners and just reinstalled in lieu of the fence that is currently in
Okay, but
place.
if the ordinance says you can only have 6 foot, who's granting the variance to having something put back as 8?
They would have to apply separately.
Okay.
And I know that some of those people just kind of, that's why they wanted my response. I talked to a few, and I kind of figured out that it would be easier, and they basically said, you're going in as the guinea pig, kind of, to see what the outcome is going to be on
So
this.
here's what my feeling is that you all come as a group and request all of them at the same time. If that whole line is the same height and there is that issue with the height, then I could see that, you know, it's kind of like when a highway goes in and you need some extra screening and.
Yeah, that's
But-
the main thing for us is definitely
But to
that.
have where the possibility that you have an 8 foot, a 6 foot, 2 8 foots, 3 6 foots, I just think is.
And a big concern for me is doing some of the training back there that I do and work with like I said, security purposes, but then the privacy of me doing some training and then the basketball going up and over the fence. I mean, that's a daily basis through the summer for me, and it's gone over that fence quite a few times.
So, I'm not sure I understand, is that engineering? So, she was saying they were going to get a temporary easement through there. I understand what that is. But on condition of a temporary easement, that there is a possibility of getting 8 foot fences? Is that
Well,
what I'm understanding?
How many of those have you all settled where they were told if they paid the difference, they could have an 8 foot fence?
None of them were put in writing to have specifically a different fence, other than the Bailey property, and it wasn't specified that it's an 8 foot fence. It's specified that it's what is already there, so it'll meet the specifications of the fence that's already existing.
Okay, all you're doing is replacing what's there.
Correct.
Okay, so if it's a 6 foot fence, that's all that's getting put back.
Correct.
With the 56th Street project.
Correct, and they were. Anyone else that inquired about it were told that they would have to go through the proper channels to apply for the variance for the 8 foot fence.
Okay, So
Do we know
right
how many
now, they're only
houses-
getting 6 foot fences put back.
Do we know how many houses this affects?
Megan, do you know how many are down through there?
Is it just those that are
Is
up
it-
there?
It's
is it
the
both
6
si-
that are right through here.
Is it the both sides of the other side of the street asking for the same thing?
They are not.
Yet.
So it's,
So,
Yeah,
how many?
It looks like there's 9 there.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4,
So I'm just wondering if we're gonna put back a 6 foot fence, and it's gonna cost X number of dollars for them to be bumped up to 8 foot, why we just wouldn't put in the 8 foot and divide it between those 9 houses and say, y'all get an 8 foot fence for this much money, and be done with it?
And the fences that are currently there, to my knowledge, besides maybe 2, are very poor condition. So I just kind of wanted to note that, because I want to replace it with a good-looking fence as well.
And the only reason I say that is just so we don't have to go through 9 times of doing this.
What's the time frame of this project?
That's what I was going to ask.
We sent out a utility relocation design notice last week. They look to start relocating utilities around November. They're not going to break ground on this project until early 2019.
Those fences have to be removed for utility relocation or street construction?
Utility relocation.
Okay, so the fences are going to come down in November,
In
is what you're
November.
saying? And they will be
We will
put
begin
back
in
up-
November.
They will be put back up before the street project is started, or as part of the street project, they get put back?
We can technically have them down for 2 years for their temporary construction
So we
easement.
have a little bit of time to discuss how we put these all back.
And that's,
Without a fence back there for 2 years, could be up to 2 years.
that's a
what we're
concern I have for them right now. I mean, if we approve this at this point, you wouldn't want to do anything with this until that is done.
And yes, that's correct. Mainly what it's for is when the road
Yeah.
comes through is the reason I'm wanting that. And I wouldn't touch the fence until they were completely done and we're replacing it for, like I said, the privacy of Jean George Boulevard, 56 coming through, and then the security as well with a sidewalk being right behind that.
Yeah, Patsy, I don't know how we can address this on there, and the fact that, I mean, I think I agree with Mr. Powell on there. If each one of these were to come to us separately, the amount of time and everything that we would have associated with it, the incremental 2 feet for each one of these through here, it's better just to include it in the 56th Street project.
Okay, maybe we just need to refer this back to engineering and let them come back to us with a recommendation of whether they can work out a way to increase them all to 8, or we leave it like it is.
I think,
We'll just table this one for the time being until we have a chance to get back with engineering to see what we can do with that.
I don't want to speak on behalf of the entire planning commission, but I think all of us would probably be in favor as far as an 8-foot fence on both sides for those properties. I mean, this is a unique situation as far as that right-of-way that was granted to, basically through that
Well,
area now. so.
they're not acquiring any additional right-of-way. The right-of-way is already there.
Not, I'm just saying
All they're getting is temporary construction.
I'm just saying the
easements.
special conditions of where
Yeah.
this is on that, so.
Okay, so Mayor may have a comment here.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize, we just finished our committee meeting, and I know I'm coming in kind of in the middle of this, but, I mean, we have a lot of areas, I think, and you mentioned unique, and maybe it is, maybe I missed something, but we got a lot of areas where we've built corridors, or, and I think they all have 6-foot fences, do they not, Patsy?
Well, that's what we just
Don
talked about.
Tyson-
I
Don
can't
Tyson
think of-
Parkway.
I can't think of any that we've put anything taller than 6-foot fences.
I mean, I guess my concern at first blush is that we start something that we're gonna have to do from now on everywhere we build a road, so,
But the
that backs
di-
up to property.
But the distance on Don Tyson Parkway to some of those properties is a bit wider than what you would have through.
And that may be, those are things I haven't looked
and
at.
think
I just throw that out as
I understand.
as a caution.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my thought on it was that he was saying that topography of the land was
Right, maybe
that
it's, the
you're
road
gonna
will be more
see-
elevated.
Right, so
Okay.
you're gonna see into
Well,
their
we'll look at,
backyards.
yeah.
And my feeling is just uniformity, that we don't have one
Well,
house.
I agree with that it would be better to do that whole row. I think,
So the
my
cost
my
from
only
6 feet would
caveat,
go to the-
The
go to
cost would be,
It's not on us. So we're gonna put back 6 foot anyway, but they're requesting 8, so the additional
Okay.
2 feet would be passed on to them. They're willing to.
Yeah, it's not a
consider
whole
that
new
helps
fence
too.
in that
Yeah,
one.
that
Well, my
helps too.
suggestion, let's just table it tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Get with engineering and see what needs to happen, and then come back with, we
Good.
do everybody the
I
same way.
think, I
instead
think
of
that's a
creating
good,
one.
I think that's a good way to move forward, and I apologize again for coming in the middle of
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to throw a caution out that
and
I
if we could have pictures of what it's gonna look like from the road, whatever road elevation.
And Mayor, this is
My
one
caution is
house.
we don't do one of those
Yeah.
6 foot like on Don Tyson Parkway with no brakes.
Right.
Yeah, and-
I agree that it's gonna look a lot better
Yeah.
rather than dealing with one house in.
Well, what we were talking about is he's talked to several of his neighbors already,
Uh-huh.
and, the time and energy that we would spend approving each one of these separately.
Right.
I mean, they're gonna come before us. I mean, and if it's something that they have to pay in for the additional 2 feet, I mean, I think we propose options, but it's, the
And-
fence is coming out. in
Right,
every one of
and
those
I
houses.
agree with that approach. My only concern, I didn't know about their willingness to pay for the difference. I just don't want to start something that we're going to be locked into.
Agreed.
That's
from
fair.
now on.
Well, he's saying he's willing to. I don't know, you're speaking on behalf of anybody else but yourself.
Yeah, and
And
what
you're
I've
not
talked to, a lot of them said that they would be willing to pay. I think we even looked into it, it'd be about $750, and with the money that they, as far as what I got for the time that they're using the temporary construction easement, that almost covers the cost of it. So for me and a lot of the people, fences, a lot of those fences through there need to be replaced and are very old, so they would rather go with replacing an 8-foot fence and having the city put it in when they were going to replace that fence anyways with a new 8-foot instead of the.
Does this subdivision have a POA?
Do what?
Does this subdivision have a POA?
No, we do not.
Okay, I was gonna
Well, we
say, I mean, there could be an
yeah.
opportunity where we could collectively talk to some of them in that regard, so.
There's none.
I think we appreciate you bringing the issue to us. Let us get back with engineering and see what we can come up with, and then we'll get back with you and let
Okay.
you know what's going on.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next section is waivers, 18-21, Cheryl Simon, 4050 North 56th Street, waiver of sidewalk requirement, presented by Cheryl Simon.
I'm Cheryl Simmons.
Sorry, I pronounced that wrong.
That's okay.
We know your stance on that. no
My
waivers on
stance
this
is
one,
I do
so-
not recommend waivers of sidewalks.
Okay. Any questions or comments in the audience? to the commission?
I would,
I have a question again for engineering. Are they still here? Is this portion of 56th Street is not currently on the bond program, correct?
It's gonna be my question.
I knew it was coming.
Okay.
Right now, the bond program on 56th Street improvements is going to Elm Springs Road. The very furthest would be to Bob Mills Road, correct?
I would have to look at the construction plans. I'm not real
It
sure.
doesn't quite go to Bob Mills.
Okay, okay. This would be something else that would have to be picked up to go onto this, just because I knew that question was gonna come up. It's on the master street plan to be
Right.
improved sometime in the future, but there's not any current plans. And Mayor, I need to ask you a question. This on 56th Street, is that part of what was included in the build grant application? Because she's asking for a waiver of the sidewalk on that.
She's almost to Wagon Wheel Road.
I'm sorry?
She's almost to Wagon Wheel Road.
Yeah, she's almost to Wagon Wheel. The bridge is just to the north,
Right.
east of that, just right up there where the creek is.
A connection to Wagon Wheel was the build grant.
Okay,
However that happens, and it may not happen here. We don't know.
okay.
So, and we'll know in November, I think, Patsy, if we get the grant or not.
I think it's December.
It may be
I think
December.
the notification's
And,
in December.
And it may not be enough to go as far, you know, so we don't know yet.
Okay.
We don't know north of county line exactly how that will be accomplished if we get the grant. This one, obviously, if we stay close to the existing 56th Street, it's not gonna be cheap. And I don't know if there's a cheaper alternative. We've talked about some other
We've
alternatives.
talked
that-
about other alternatives
Yeah,
at this location.
so. but-
She's just asking for a waiver of the sidewalk. You're building a single-family house? On this lot, and it's a large tract. How many acres
Yeah.
do you have?
3.
3 acres, and she would have that frontage to build a sidewalk on.
I wouldn't have any, just me personally, I don't get a vote, but I wouldn't have any issue with that, with a waiver on that.
And that's the thing, is we're not sure of even the alignment.
Right.
If it goes through there, so there's a
So
lot
her-
of unknowns on.
Her driveway
this
comes off, actually
yes.
doesn't come off Wagon Wheel Road.
Right.
There's that, along that yellow line is a driveway.
Yeah.
And I-
her driveway comes off of that
Yeah, Dale,
existing
and
driveway.
I'm certainly no engineer, nor the son of an engineer, but if we improve that, it would be very highly doubtful that whatever sidewalk she had to build would
Exactly.
remain.
Tearing up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. This be a recommendation, council?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go, I'm kind of thinking the same way Patsy does, is that you can do payment in lieu of, or you can bond for it down the road, but other places, they build the sidewalks, and even if a bond program is paying for a sidewalk, that's dollars that can go towards the road going a little further when the rule is that you pay for your sidewalk. And it doesn't necessarily have to go in today, but there can be the payment in lieu of, or I forget what the wording is for the other one.
The bond for, you
The
can,
bond
bill of
for it.
assurance.
Yeah, bill
You
of
can do bill of
assurance.
assurance, yeah.
Well,
She's asking for a complete waiver right now.
looking at this terrain, when you go out there and visioning where possibility of new 56th Street goes, it may not even go by her place. It may be out in
Right.
that field.
But,
It
you know,
may be.
but then a bill of assurance, or has it down the road if anything is ever done, she only, you know, if she pays payment in lieu, it's just paying for the sidewalk, not the engineering involved, and she doesn't have to put it in.
I understand, but the road may not even go by her house. That's what I'm saying. That alignment may be totally different than where 56th Street is now. So that's the unsurety of that project right now.
So I'm assuming you want us to vote on a complete waiver. You're not willing to make payment in lieu of, or a bill of assurance, or anything. You want to ask for a complete waiver?
Yes.
Okay. And this would be a recommendation to council, by the way.
Motion to approve.
Waiver?
Yes, motion to approve the waiver.
Motion by Mr. Powell,
Second.
second by Mr. Tyler.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
No?
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Waiver passes 7-1.
Okay, staff will prepare the resolution, goes to council on the 25th.
I think, just one comment that we'll have on, when you have development like this that is on a 3-acre lot, I don't know how we can do things different, but I mean, if this was a subdivision,
A different story.
it would be a different circumstance where
sure
you're
it would.
putting that many houses along on that whole piece.
Maybe we need to look at amendment for a certain size. We don't have that in our ordinance right now.
Because it's a bit easier as far as a bite to chew. I mean, a bill of assurance on this is gonna be would have been incredibly expensive on there. But if we can get to be more apples to apples comparison on things, that might be something that people are more willing to be able to pay
But there
into.
are people that have 3-acre lots or 2-acre
'Cause they want-
lots and have sidewalks. So, you know, I mean, I'm on a corner lot and I'd have to build a sidewalk. I don't have a sidewalk because back then you didn't have to, but at
Yeah.
some point, I recognize at some point it may go to where if they decide to put a sidewalk in, we have to pay for it.
But it's a catch-22 as far as things that we're trying to attract in our city as well. I mean, it's just something I think we need to look at a bit different in there, because that is a tremendous expense if we have to be able to do that going forward. Just wanted to call that out. All right, so next waiver, McDonald's, 4600 West Sunset, waiver sidewalk requirement presented by, and forgive me if I pronounce it wrong.
Actually, my name is Greg Massey.
Okay.
Cesar was not able to be here.
Okay, do we have something that allows anybody else to represent this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Is that Mr. Matthews there? The owner of the property is here.
Yes, the owner of the property is here as well.
I was surprised, Bill, that your name wasn't on this to start with, so. We know you're on the property, so we'll let you do it.
Okay. Any staff comments on this one?
I don't recommend sidewalk waivers. This one's on this is at Sunset, at the Sunset location?
Yes.
Okay. You want to explain why you are asking for this waiver? Do you have a picture, Aaron?
As you can see, there are no sidewalks between Rife and all the way to 49.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
Now, this is one of the areas where when AT&T and Verizon, all of them, they put in sidewalks too, and there wasn't sidewalks there. And you can see a walk path there. So, this would be a good area for a sidewalk.
People were walking when I drove past. So, I mean, I think it would be used. You have hotels in the area, places where people walk.
This be a recommendation.
Well, he's asking for a waiver of the sidewalk requirement. Are you willing to do a payment in lieu of improvements or a bill of assurance to, I don't know why we would need a bill of assurance, because we're not building
I would do
sidewalks.
it in lieu of, payment in lieu of construction.
You would do a payment in lieu of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if the planning commission approves that, then it doesn't even have to go to council. We'll just determine what the cost is and take the payment in lieu of improvements, if that's acceptable to you guys. Okay, so your request is do a payment in lieu of improvements for the sidewalk?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So this is being brought up to us because of,
remodeling you're doing a remodel to the facility there, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Exterior remodel, dual lane drive-through, and interior remodel.
Okay, you're doing a dual lane drive-through like you have at those other locations? Yeah, okay.
so when that, I guess that was a truck place, was that Peterbilt that was over beside him? So they've moved out to their new place. So when a new person comes in, they want to renovate, then they're gonna, same thing. And all went down the line.
So this be a call for the vote, right? Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, anytime we were just, this has been a topic that's recently came up over and over again. Anytime they do any kind of construction, any kind of what is considered development under our ordinance, which is pretty much any kind of improvement to the site, we can require a sidewalk. So there were a number of things that we were working through the development team that they have to get them up to city standards. It's just one of those tougher ones because it's more of that retroactive because it was older. But that is the process that we're supposed to go through, is asking for the sidewalk and then the additional items as well. So yes, if a new development goes in over at the Peters Trucking and they have to do a non-large scale or large scale development, they would be asked the very same thing.
So he's willing to do payment in lieu of improvements, so it's a call for the vote on that.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Covert.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Payment in lieu of passes 8-0.
We'll get with the office, we'll come up with the cost for the payment in lieu of.
Okay, and we attend the next city council? Is that the,
No, if you're willing to do a payment in lieu of improvements, it doesn't have to go to council. All we
Okay.
have to do is agree on the amount, and you post that with the city, and we'll give you a clearance on that part.
okay, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. Next item, W 18-23, Louis and Shannon Frouds, 2871 and 2919 East Robinson, waiver of sidewalk requirement, presented by Bates and Associates.
Hello, I'm Tina Ford, project manager with Bates and Associates. This project is along 412, and it has, between the back of curb and where an existing retaining wall is located at, there's 8 feet of clearance. So we don't have enough room for grading to meet the existing grade if we install a 5-foot sidewalk along that portion. I've included some pictures. Did you get those? I don't see those up. Did that?
Did you have additional pictures?
Yeah, I sent them. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought they were here.
I didn't know if we had them electronically.
Are they in your packet?
Yeah. There's two pictures in our packet.
Frozen up, so.
Oh, okay.
I just
Frozen,
brought
you
one
can't
set. I'm
open it?
sorry. I apologize.
So with the retaining
seen
wall
them. I
there,
have
you only have how much room?
8 feet from the back of curb to where the retaining wall is located at. And the retaining wall is 130 feet in length. And there's an existing drain going across.
So I'm not good at math, so you have to keep that in mind.
Okay, sorry.
So if you have a 5-foot sidewalk,
I have 3 feet to
you'd
do
have
the
a
grading.
3-foot green space and a 5-foot sidewalk, and the sidewalk would be right adjacent to the retaining wall?
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron, did y'all look at that as a possibility? Did you look at that as a possibility to reduce the green space or be able to put the sidewalk adjacent to the retaining wall? Okay, then I got to ask the question, can the retaining wall be moved?
It's 130 feet, and there's an existing storm pipe. I believe it's a 36-inch going underneath the 5-lane road there. So it would take a lot of engineering and reconstruction on that.
So you're not telling me it can't be done, it's just not something have put into
We
your budget to
didn't.
do?
We did not go into that much detail. It was extremely difficult. We looked at it. We had it planned. This site, they have. It's almost complete, and we have really looked at different ways of doing it, other than reconstructing the retaining wall and building up to it. And again, there's actually no existing sidewalk. It's not a safe spot for pedestrians as it is along there. The grade drops down significantly. I don't have the large scale in front of me. I believe it's anywhere from 6 to 7 feet drop where that retaining wall is.
So if they put the sidewalk there, they'd also have to put a railing through it.
Yes.
I think Aaron's looking for the,
Can I show you this picture on here?
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay. To the commission.
There is a, looks like there's a drainage pipe going through that retaining wall,
Yes, sir. It's
and
coming from the adjacent.
just because it's a low area. So it's draining, is it draining that whole lot to that one area?
I believe it's coming across from the north side into,
See, there's an, where are we talking about?
on the west side of the property. I have called out a dimension existing retaining wall to remain. That is from the property line across 130 feet. It does continue to the west onto the adjacent property owner, and you can see I've called out the existing storm sewer pipe, which is on the adjacent property.
It's really the adjacent property that has the issue with the storm sewer, not yours then, right?
No, what's there?
We would have to do something with that in order to connect back to the existing grade.
Would you be willing to make payment in lieu of improvements for that section of the sidewalk that's required?
We could, we would respectfully ask for a waiver,
Okay,
but
so
we
you want
would
the
be, we
waiver-
would be open to the payment in lieu of also.
Okay. If you are willing to do payment in lieu of improvements and the planning commission approves that, it doesn't have to go to council. If you ask for the waiver to be voted on and it is recommended to be denied, then you'll have to go to council for council to do anything with it. The choice is yours.
I just have a question on, which way does the water drain on this one?
To the south. We have a
It comes
detention pond
across
back.
from, it comes right from Robinson at the top, comes across through here and comes down this, right here in there, it says a 40-foot existing easement, and then there's a existing storm sewer right there, and is there a pipe down through, or does it go through a swale? I don't know.
There's a pipe there that goes into, it's kind of a back opening to that existing inlet right there.
Right, and then it just goes,
And I don't know where it goes from
I
there.
don't either, where it goes across that piece of property.
But,
I mean,
don't
looking
think
where
it
you've
can go
got
across that
curbing,
property.
does that water come into the paved, what will be the paved area? And what are you gonna do with that water situation there?
I believe that there is a drainage plan as well with this large scale. I did not personally work on that drainage. I believe it does continue on, and we have a swell coming alongside the west property line, between the property line and that proposed building to our detention pond on the south.
They had to put a detention pond on their side. And then the property to the east of it, y'all are looking at changing, and it has to have a detention pond on that side, or the two have to be worked together, correct?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So that water's just gonna drain across the parking lot?
I don't know all the details.
I don't think, I think that normally when you have a back opening like it drains into it and goes underground. So it's not, it can't be draining to that property.
That was my question.
There's no way. I mean, there's no way.
Because
it
if
can be
it's
done.
not, is it really,
Carl, or can you address this one?
Well,
Have you
apparently
looked
it
at this
was a
set of
low
plans?
area at the time that was built, that roadway was built, because I'm assuming that was built when.
the property's being regraded? Anyway, I don't even know that that's an issue and that that could come out.
You can take those out pretty easy. You just plug that hole. Go.
I don't know that we have any comments from engineering on this one, so I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Is that being graded up to the top of the wall?
It's meeting the wall. We're not at the top of the wall.
It's meeting the wall, but it's not coming all the way to the top?
Correct.
Have you seen those pictures, Brian, that were passed around? They should be beside Gary. If they pass around, it may help.
There's some in your packet too, Brian.
That's the same one we have.
Yeah, it's the same one you have in your packet. It's not
In the last 3 or 4 pages, Brian.
Well, if there again, we're not designing at the table, we may
No.
need to table this one and let engineering and them get together and figure out what kind of issues need to be addressed on this one.
I would recommend that on there, because, I mean, looking at that last drawing, those last two, I don't even know that that's necessary anymore.
can't answer that.
And that would be engineering that would have to,
I'd yield to engineering on this because that size of pipe constitutes a large amount of water. So, you can see what it's draining. I would recommend that.
Is that a motion?
I'd motion to have it stable, let engineering get back with us, or get back with them.
I'll second that.
yeah, we're not gonna,
We're not gonna
Solve it
design it
here
at the
tonight,
table, so
so-
we're going to, you got a motion to table it for them to meet with engineering and see what else can be worked out. And then we decide whether it needs to come back or not.
I'm not sure we know what the drainage is.
Okay. We have, I'm sorry, just have a motion so far.
okay, yeah, I second by,
I second it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Powell to table this and a second by Mrs. Haney.
For further engineering review with the applicant in the engineering department.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
And you understand what we tabled this for the engineer to look at on it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, other items, we've got two extensions, L 17-10, Oriole Street Apartments, 1-year extension presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Apple with ESI. We're requesting a 1-year extension for the Oriole Street project. This is located on the southeast corner of 412 and Oriole. Last year, we came through with these 10 5-unit buildings. There's 50 units in this area. We did receive a variance of parking for 2 per unit, so we have 100 space parking lot versus the requirement of 128. I believe we had a slight modification in the green space. We reduced it from 20% to 17%.
But those were all addressed with, when it was approved.
Yes, those were approved variances.
Do you remember when it was approved?
I think it was May.
Okay, so we're a couple, 3 months behind that.
Yeah.
But you're asking for an extension from that May, from the original approval?
Correct.
Okay.
We just found out, we submitted construction drawings through staff and found out we were slightly out of date.
There's lots of things going on.
But we are ready to move forward this time, so.
So it's just a matter of just getting things through the process?
Just paperwork, yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Commission? Be a call for the vote?
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Powell?
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes.
1-year extension passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Then we have L 17-33, CL George and Sons Limited Partnership, northeast corner of 56th Street and private drive to Arkansas Children's Hospital, Northwest. 1-year extension presented by Patsy Christie.
Their large scale actually doesn't expire until November, but they realize they're not going to be able to meet that timeline and asking for a 1-year extension from that November original
Okay.
proposal.
Questions from the audience? Commission?
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Covert?
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Mueller,
Yes.
Parsley.
Yes. 1-year extension passes 8-0. Okay. Planning Director report.
Following last month's work session where we had a pretty good attendance from the Home Builders Association, they have formed a committee to work with the city on residential design standards. They sent me a list of contact people. And we sent a copy of the draft to their director to make sure everybody got a copy of it. asking for them to give us comments back by September the 6th. I have set us a work session with that group for Thursday, September the 13th at 5:30, so that that group can come in and discuss their issues. I can kind of get all their comments together and all that kind of stuff. Y'all are welcome to attend that night, but we want to be able to give them a chance to bring all their comments and their questions. I've only got one set back, and so that'll give us some time, because we have some other items that we need to discuss on the planning work session on the 18th, so I was afraid we wouldn't get a chance to do all that. So I wanted to go ahead and schedule that meeting, and anybody who can make that night, the 13th at 5:30, welcome to come and help us go through all this and discuss. Want to again emphasize that it's more than just a ban on vinyl siding. It is to talk about the entire package of what we're talking about and trying to get all of those items addressed, not just the vinyl siding issue. We have been requested by Landmark Custom Homes to be able to meet with the Planning Commission in work session to look at a subdivision they're proposing on the 47 acres that's adjoining the new Shaw Park. They've got some house plans, some streetscape drawings, a little bit more of a unique idea they want to bring in. They want to sit down and discuss it before they submit it. So that'll be on that night's agenda. I handed out at the last meeting the food truck draft requirements. As you can see, we're getting a lot of interest in food trucks, and I think that's an issue we probably need to move forward and then continue our discussion of the residential design standards. That would be the 18th at 5:30. And that's more than we can do in an hour without any question.
I would just, we've had 2 work sessions devoted and have had invites for several to attend. We had great attendance, especially from Roush Coleman. This last one, I would recommend that, that you're going to meet with them on the 13th for the 18th. I would probably ask that they have a representative and that we don't have, because it could be a bit challenging for others that want to be able to participate in that when you have that much, that's.
Well, and that's the reason I set the meeting on the 13th, to give everybody a chance to come in and we can kind of put the comments together and so that you all get them before the weekend, hopefully, or at least
Right.
have some written comments to review so we can get through.
And I'll go ahead and put it out there right now as far as for the 18th. I don't want to spend any more than probably 10, 15 minutes max talking about vinyl siding. We're just not going to on that whole piece.
Yeah.
And it's really more, we've heard enough about that. What we're interested in the vinyl siding, we agreed that we're not going to eliminate it, but what our focus is having some grading standards associated with that. If that's not prepared for that, we're not going to hear anything on vinyl siding.
And they have been told, bring us some
Okay.
information about types and quality of
Yeah.
vinyl siding that we can address that issue, and where can we put it and what percentages can we have. We're not going to use it at all. We want to develop some standards on how it's going to be applied.
The intent of what we're trying to accomplish is working to attract multiple demographics of housing that is out there. And affordable housing is definitely a need across Northwest Arkansas, but there's also a need for mid-tier housing, for high-end housing as well. Unique standards, I think it'll probably be good to hear from Landmark Custom Homes to see, the housing industry is changing, and people, we heard it from real estate agents that people don't want the big lots anymore, but there is, high-priced, more condensed housing, and those are things that are definitely, I think, going to be attractive on that Northwest Corridor side as well. So,
Well, it's not just a discussion about siding, it's a discussion about
yes.
quality housing as well.
Quality housing.
That's
If
what we're.
possible, since we're going to cut back some of the 32 representatives from Roush Homes, if we can get David Dallas to be aware of that meeting, to see if he wants to join
Make
us
sure
for that.
David knows too. And there are others on the list that they gave me that are not just Rush Coleman. There's other builders and others to be in the area to talk about.
So on the 13th, is that at 5:30?
It's at 5:30, yes. And if I get comments before that, I'll send them to you so you get a chance to see them. Hopefully they'll send some in early. I encourage them to have it to me by this Thursday, so I have time to kind of put some of that stuff together before the 13th, so we'll see if that works.
Would you send an email to the city council folks too, that they would be aware?
I will.
We won't be able to talk about it on this next session on it, but on the mobile vending, this is another use unit in commercial areas. And, I brought up before that I don't know how many, several dozen of use units that we have in a C2 and a C5, but I would still want to look at how do we create another commercial zone associated
I've
with that.
kind of been
Okay.
putting them on a piece of paper and shuffling them around and see how they come out. There's not as many hours in a day as
And
there
I
used to
I
be.
think tonight's a good indication. I mean, we had 2 mobile vending that came on here, and it's exciting, but at the same time, it can get a bit out of hand as far as these going forwards.
Well, and we've had some mobile vending that we have approved that have come and gone. So that's something else that we have to deal with too, but it's.
Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.